I have not 3 hands. So this is me. My name's Nicole. So this is going to screw me up. This thing. What's that? Oh, you can totally hear me. My 12-year-old tells me I'm way too loud. On the live stream, they usually I know. But it's like that thing where you call people and you can hear it echoing back while you're talking, and it's really kind of not awesome. Okay, so that's me and my family. Someone painted this for me a while ago. But I help kids learn how to code here in Lane County. We'll keep doing this until we figure it out. But in my day job, I am a WordPress troubleshooter. And the reason why it is a troubleshooter and not a malware person or a security person or things like that is because a lot of people don't know that they are hacked. So they come to me with a specific problem, and it turns out, hey, you're hacked. So we're going to go through that and what that looks like and how to fix it and how to recognize it and what I see and what I work with and those sort of things. A little bit about me. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm not that old. I was very young when I started. And I've been self-employed, which is a big thing in Eugene because we don't have a lot of representation from self-employed people. A lot of people work for someone else. So I've been doing that in the current thing for about 14 years, I guess. So that is also fun. And my phone's going to start. There we go. OK. So this talk is this thing. WordPress security. Look at that. And if you're in the wrong place, I'm sorry. You know. So a lot of people, when they get hacked, don't know they're hacked. But some people do know they're hacked. And how do they know they're hacked? Because they get these messages from their host or from other entities, basically saying, hey, you're hacked. We've taken down your stuff. This is the problem. Fix it. Right? And a lot of clients have no idea what to do with this particular notice because it involves a lot of things like terms of service and compliance and excessive resource usage and things like that clients do not understand. Sometimes it looks like this. Have you ever seen one of these? This is because you've been Google blacklisted and people try to visit their own site and get this message from Chrome. And they realize, hey, something's going wrong here. But for the most part, this does not happen. This is I would say probably 5 to 10% of the cases actually get these kind of notices. Look, I can't do my own phone thing. Right. And that's why I call myself a troubleshooter, because most people come to me with something like a performance issue, or my site is not working, or something like that. They don't come to me with these kind of messages. They come to me with something else. So one client came to me with a Google message and couldn't figure out what was wrong with her site. And so I looked it up. So if you go to Google and you just type site, and then the domain name, this came up. Her site's in English. So you can imagine this is not what's supposed to be coming up on your Google listing for all of the indexed URLs for your site. And so I started digging a little more on what was going on while I was waiting for her logins, because I have free time. She apparently had an entire Asian social network running in the back end of her website. So, hold on. These are fogging, and I can't see. Yeah, so this is what happened, and she had no idea this was going on. She just came to me because said, oh, I got an email from Bluehost, and I couldn't figure out what's going on, and my site's running a little slow, and I can't figure it out, and it looks fine and normal. I can't figure out why they're having a problem with my hosting account. but all of this is running in the background. And this is kind of typically what happens. People don't really realize that they're hacked. They just realize that something is kind of off. I really should have turned this off. So, what does it look like? What does an actual symptom look like, right? What are we looking for? If we're not actually seeing something like this all the time, what is it that we're looking for? And what we're looking for is, I can't do this, slow performance. If my site suddenly slows down rapidly, if it is doing funny things that it didn't do before, if I'm getting notices from the hosting company, from the hosting company emails don't really say, hey, you've been hacked. They say things in code like you have excessive resource usage, or you have an increased number of nodes, because clients really have any idea what that means. They get malware notices from Google, especially if they have marketing going. They have Search Console, and Search Console will send them messages. They get these weird emails that are actually bounce backs from their own server, because their server is sending out spam, and then it goes to addresses that are not valid. So it bounces back to them, and they're like, I didn't send this out in the first place, so I'm very confused about this. They load a page. They load a page, and they get a bunch of stuff at the top that says fatal error, or error message, or PHP warning, things like that at the top. That was just kind of really gobbledygook that they've never seen before. They get users that they don't recognize. So you go in there and you get, suddenly you have users on WordPress that have never been there before. You get plugins that you don't recognize. Like, I didn't install that. Why is that in there? Or they get multiple copies of the same plugin. Like, why do I suddenly have 3 copies of Kismet, and I've never had that before? 2 are hacks. And they run out of file space. They suddenly get messages from their server that they're exceeding the file space usage. And they haven't uploaded anything, they haven't installed anything, but there it is. So, these are the kind of things that people come to me with, which, again, don't look like a hack. They don't know it's a hack, but it turns out that is what it is. So, everybody asks, oh, just come in. I see you. Everybody asks, how does this happen? Why does this happen to me? There was a marketer a while ago that made up this entire beautiful story. It was a beautiful story. Like, she had this whole thing about how she was so popular that she got socially engineered, and someone had gone through all her social media accounts and figured out all her stuff, and somehow derived from all of her stuff to what her passwords were, and those Facebook quizzes that ask you about your stuff, and they'd gone through all of her quizzes to figure out her stuff, and she probably got phished. I'll tell you right now, because she got phished. What it usually is, no, it's not that interesting. It just isn't. It just isn't that interesting. No one is going to take the time to go through all of your stuff and figure that out if you're a celebrity, but if you're just some average person on the web, no one's going to take the time. They're just not. It's just not worth their time when they can set up a script to detect all the vulnerabilities on all the WordPress sites in the world at the same time and figure out which ones. Or they can send out an email. They can send out an email and phish 700 people at the same time, right? They're not going to bother with you. They just don't. So all of the things that you think it is, people worried about passwords, oh, I sent you a password through email, someone hacked into my... No, they just don't. They send you an email through Gmail, they phish into your stuff. Once they have your Gmail, they have all of your social media accounts. That is how that kind of thing happens. It doesn't happen with anyone looking at your stuff, because no one cares. Sorry. I don't know. I wanted to tell her that, but everybody was really into the story, and I felt really bad about that. Yeah. Some people actually do hack into sites directly, and they're usually kids having a great time. And what I notice about that is that they don't do a lot of damage. The people that personally hack into a site will do something like they'll replace your home page, but they don't touch the rest of the site. They just replace the index page or something like that. And it kind of looks like this. So they log in, they freak out because, oh my god, somebody hacked into my site. This is horrible. But really, they just replaced the index site because you were on stupid hosting, or you had a really easy password. This one was particularly funny. I like this one. It had music that played in the background, right? Like 1999, yeah, no. It had music and scrolling things. That one was fantastic, but again, they just went in there, they replaced the index page. So people personally hacking into your stuff because it's that bad don't do a lot of damage. It's the scripts and the phishing. That's the kind of stuff that is things you worry about, because they will go through every file, they will go through all your plugins, they will go through your database, they will go through everything. This stuff, it looks worse. Clients freak out more. Not as bad. So, your most likely culprits, like I was saying. Bad hosting. I could have an entire conversation on bad hosting. And things like WordPress still recommends Bluehost, and I can't, so much can't even. I just can't. Yeah. The host will say it's not them. Oh dear, what?
Is there a general host that is really bad?
There is a lot of list, actually, because there is one conglomerate that bought out all of the smaller hosts secretly. All of those avoid them, because they're just all the same bad system. They will say it's not them, but the thing is that when you work in my job, you will see waves, like something new will come out. There will be 30 calls in 1 week, and they're all in the same host. Because they're like, oh no, it's not us. Yeah, okay. No, it's them. It's them. Yeah, no. Some have basically, sieves on their back end, and it just goes right through. I tell clients fully, I cannot protect you on this host. I cannot. I can fix your site. I cannot guarantee it beyond a week. Because, so, yeah. No, there are, EIG. Avoid EIG hosts, because I just can't. Unfortunately, there's companies buying out other companies right now, and they don't tell you they're buying them out. They just buy them out, and then they just secretly do it, and all of a sudden your hosting goes to pot, and you can't figure out why. That's why. I can't even recommend a host more than 6 months because they sell, and then I don't know. So I've recommended someone, and then they sold, and then it just tanked within 30 days. So it varies. The outdated plugins, poorly written plugins. People say, well, I don't understand why I was hacked because I updated all my plugins. So here's what happened. They look at the plugin, and they're looking in their WordPress admin, and it says, oh, look, it's great. Look, it's fine. See? This one doesn't say there's any updates available or anything else. When you go and click on View Details, you go to WordPress, and it says, hey, this has not been updated in forever. I don't know why WordPress doesn't put this on here in the admin. There might be. But then you're installing too many plugs, and I get angry at you. No, but so people think that everything's updated because there's no updates available, but it turns out that something hasn't been updated in a long time, and it's no longer valid. There's also been plugins that were sold to other companies, and then the other company did spyware or spamware in the plugin, and so many people had installed it that it was just on everybody's computer now. So that's kind of a problem. But plugins are one of the biggest problems out there. Let me do this again.
If I can, I'll just make the point that if it says that it hasn't been tested with the last major releases of WordPress, that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't work or it's not secure.
100% true. I still use this one.
Right.
Yeah. There are a few. Out there. But look at it further because of this. Because of this. This one still does work. It still does work. But it doesn't, it's not a great, there are plugins that do more, that have holes in them that are worse. The really big problem is the ones that are bundled with themes, because a person made a theme, they bundled the plugin, so they have their release, so it's a couple releases behind. That was the huge rev slider hack that everybody had, was because it was bundled with a theme and no one updated it, and then everybody found their way in it. So this one's pretty, safe. I think there's login lockdown a lot of people use. Hasn't been updated in a while, but nothing's changed in several versions of WordPress, so it still works just fine. But you do have to just look into it. Yeah, look into it. If it says it hasn't been updated, look into it. Don't trust that it doesn't have any updates, especially if the site's been hacked. Go through every single plugin, check out every single plugin, see if it has any issues that have been reported, basically. So, same with the themes. People are like, oh, my theme's fine. It has no updates released. And then you go to click on the theme, the maker of the theme, and that site isn't even in there anymore. Or you go to Theme Forest, because a lot of people love Theme Forest themes, and they're like, yeah, this one isn't even for sale anymore. Or it hasn't been updated since WordPress 2.0, or whatever it is. It's not telling you it has an update because there is no update available, and just, that's what it is. The outdated WordPress, there is a plugin out there, and I want to find this person, and I want to throttle them, because it disables all the update notices for WordPress themes and plugins. And some developer was like, I'm going to do this because it makes it easier for my client to not know that I'm not updating this stuff. Yeah. I'm going to find that person. One day, I'm going to find that person. There are also some hosting companies that will update the automatic security updates for WordPress, and those people should be shot too. So you have to go look just to see, is this the current version? You can always go to WordPress.org and look to see what the current version is, and if you do not have it, get it. I don't update every single update. Especially big ones. I don't do it immediately. I wait till everybody else, breaks, and then I see what they're doing. But they will list what is in the update. So if there's anything that says security, fixes security vulnerability, those sort of things, do the update. Do the update. Just do it, because there was a whole cross-site scripting thing that was going around, and a lot of people didn't do it, and guess what happened? And then the phishers, they like to click on every single link in their email, and those people, we all know those people. So they get this email like this. This is another one. God bless Bluehost. So this is not from Bluehost. It looks like it's from Bluehost. It comes out, and people are like, oh, your account has a problem. Please log in here to fix your account. And if you hover over, you realize that is a Russian address. Yeah, this is how people got a lot of their Bluehost accounts taken over in a very short amount of time, because everybody clicked on it. They're like, yay. So try to educate people that you work with to hover over links before you click on them, or never click on the links is what I do. I go directly to the site and then log in, and if there's no notifications, it wasn't from the site. PayPal likes to do these. The people have PayPal emails all the time, bank emails. But it's particularly bad when it's your hosting account, because now they have your hosting account. The other one that's going around is getting in your Gmail account, because once you're in your Gmail account, you have all your social media accounts. Funsies. So now we're broken. We've clicked on the email. We've had the bad plugin. We're hacked. What do we do now? I need 3 arms. I'm going to have 3 arms. OK, so there are services out there that will fix your site. Don't call them. I know. It's awful, right? I'm terrible. Some of the most popular ones, the problem is that they will OK, I will search your site, I pulled out all the bad files, and then I just left it. So that was what was going around with the Rev Slider thing, is that they would go in and they would say, yeah, I fixed it. Which is what they did is they pulled out all the bad files, and now your site's broken. So, okay, thanks. Maybe, I don't know. Even worse is I'm gonna get in trouble on this one. SiteLock. SiteLock's my favorite, yeah. They have sold people malware removal services on accounts that weren't even active. So they weren't doing anything. They don't do anything. They're just useless. And you're not actually going to be able to fix that. You're going to have to call somebody else if you don't know what you're doing. So don't do that. Backups. I always back up before I start mass deleting everything, because you never know what it is. Sometimes files will be removed, but they're actually your theme files. And so if it's like deleted and suddenly that's a custom theme, you don't have those files anymore. This on my phone is a bad idea. Moving the site. Oh, sorry, backups. You can do cPanel backups, Updraft, Backup Buddy, VaultPress, whatever it is that you want to do. Just make sure you take a backup before you start doing any of this stuff, because you can't go backwards in time. And a lot of the hosting services that I mentioned that get hacked a lot, you'll go try to find your backup, and they'll be like, oh, our backup service has been down for 6 months, and we didn't tell you, and now you have no backups. So, sorry. Thanks. So, don't count on them. Make your own before you start deleting. So, the moving the site. If you are on a host, or you're working on a site on a host, and the host turns out to have a lot of hacks, it sometimes makes better sense. You can do an entire cPanel move to a new host that actually will give you a virus scanner, because some of these hosts that get hacked a lot do not offer you a free virus scanner. So look, you can move to a new one that has a better one. They also, if you have a site that's down, it's sometimes hard to put back up, but if you move it to a new host, you have a very short window before they will figure out that it's infected to clean it while it's live, which is so much easier. So maybe you should just move it before you start anything. And it's easy to do if you have something like a manual move or a cPanel backup move, and it's easier. So after that, say I'm gonna leave it there. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm gonna do a manual audit removal. And I start with the manual because the scanners on shared hosting will tap out on memory before they ever get to fix your site. So we're going to start with the manual. So this is my Jimmy Kyle site. It's my kids coding site. But this is what a healthy install of WordPress looks like. So everything starts, you can see everything starts with a WP. And then you have the folders, admin, content, and the includes folder. You have a couple extra things. This is WordFence right in here. So a couple extra things in there. But knowing what a base WordPress install looks like, and you can go to wordpress.org, download the thing, unzip the file, look what a basic WordPress install looks like. That will help you when you see an unhealthy one, like the Asian social networking site. She had a bunch of this in her WordPress in folders. None of these are directories. These are files in the directories. None of this looks like WordPress. WordPress doesn't have any HTML files. They also don't have any directories with weird letters on them. So if you start seeing this stuff, yeah, that's not it. Delete that stuff. But that is that's the Asian social networking on the Bluehost. So once you know what it looks like, you can start doing, after you deleted it, so I just say deleted, everything is bad, file replacement. Most of the plugins and themes and the base WordPress, I'm not going to bother going through all of the admin files. That's just ridiculous and silly. So I'm just going to go download a fresh copy of WordPress, delete all the WordPress files, replace them. I'm then going to go through all my plugins and my themes. So if there's in the thing, this is all your plugins. All of these correspond to a URL on wordpress.org. I can download fresh copies of all of these and just replace them. Just delete them and replace them. Don't copy over, because the bad files will still be there. Delete, replace. It's just not worth it for a commercial available free plugin to go through every file in that thing and figure out if it's right or wrong. Just don't. It's just not worth it. If you leave one file, in there, they will be rehacked in a week. Don't leave one file. So in order to do that, I just replace all the plugins. If it's a paid plugin, I just ask the client, send me the zip file of it, send me the login. I can download a fresh copy, I can replace it. None of the information for a plugin is stored in these folders, so you can just replace all this stuff in the plugin folder without damaging anything. After that, I do the automated scanning because I'm not perfect and I want to look at everything. So I've replaced all of the WordPress files. I've replaced all the plugin files. I have a fresh copy of the theme. If there's not one available, maybe I've cleaned it out manually, then I do the automated scanning. And I do this, like I said, in this order, because if you start with the automated scanning and you have 300, 500, 600, 700 hack files in there, it is going to tap out before you ever hit any of these, and then you'll just be scanning over and over and over again. It's faster to do it this way. So after that, I will do an automated scanning. And I use WordFence. There's also iTheme Security. There is Better Bullet something security. There's WordPress does scanning. There's a whole bunch of them. What's that? Yes. They spammed me recently. I'm not really happy with them. But yes, I hear it works pretty effectively. I don't know why they kept emailing me. It was kind of driving me crazy. What's that?
Can I ask a question on that?
Go ahead.
I was wondering, for the file replacement,
Mm-hmm.
did you just wipe and restore from backup?
So here's the trick with the backup thing. That when you go to the host and you say, hey, my site is hacked, that is what they offer you a lot. And that is what people think they can do. The problem is that a lot of these hacks, they don't start right away. They drop one file. That file sits there for maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe a month, and then it does its thing. So when you go from backup, they're like, yeah, I'm great, I'm fine. But that file is still in there. So you can do the backup. If I have a backup from 2 days ago before this mess started, yeah, go backup. But know that it's not safe yet.
I get what you're saying, because it's sort of almost like a 0 days.
Yes, there are little sleeper files in there. They like to test the waters to see how your account's doing before it starts expanding itself out. So they will sometimes FTP something up there and leave it there, for a little bit of time. So everyone thinks, oh yeah, I just reverted from backup, and then a week later, oh, it happened again. I don't know why, and that's why, because that file is in there. And sometimes when I look at sites that are hacked, and you look at all of the modified dates, you can see they're not in a straight line. Some were yesterday, some were the week before, some were the month before. Some people can have repeat attacks for weeks or months before they realize there's a problem in there. So you see it keep on going and keep on going. But backups only get you so far. So I also tend to look at what the client's been doing. So if they have a backup from a week ago, but they've posted a bunch of stuff, sometimes it's just easier for them to not lose all that. So I just move forward instead of going backward. But it really depends on the client case. But yeah, no, that is it's a tricky one. But yeah, I really get disappointed because that is the one thing that hosts always offer people is we'll revert to backup, but then they're just hacked again. Oh, we'll revert to backup, hacked again. And by now they're Google Blast listed and they can't get off. So just watch out for that. So if you do revert to backup, great, but still clean it after that. What's that?
I know it's not really Q&A time, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Keep interrupting you, I'm sorry. Is there a specific vector that you mostly see for security intrusions? Like
Plugins or the
specific script, like TIMP
Okay, so the question is if there's a specific vector, yes, for seeing things. And the trick is that, especially with scripts, you can look through the logs, you can see all the stuff, you'll see that they mostly don't hit one thing. Because people with an outdated site will have multiple outdates and they'll find multiple vectors at the same time. It's mostly plugins. It's especially like if someone comes to me and they're like, I have 49 plugins, and I'm like, I really hope you have a big bank account because this is going to take this is going to take a while. Yeah, but it is mostly plugins that haven't been updated. Some of them are super popular plugins that have been updated but got sold. That was a big one, right? Recently there was a sharing plugin, I think, that got sold that a lot of people were using. Yeah, they were sneaking the spam links in there all of a sudden. So people were getting, like, it's not a hack, it's just a really terrible feature. But everyone's like, well, I don't know why I'm getting spam links now. And I'm like, yeah, it's just the plugin sold, and so it just keeps on doing that. But it is plugins. The more plugins people have, it's the more chances, right? So people with lots and lots of plugins are the most likely to be hacked. And I would also say that the really tying the plugins thing is the bad hosting, because I have so many blocks set up on my hosting, so you can kind of leave it for a while and it's safe. Like, no, it's just that the hosting recognizes things. I have really tight modsec rules. Yeah, it will recognize things before people notice. It also has ClamAV is doing constant daily scans, so it'll notice things really quick. The combination of those two keeps it more safe. So, but if you're on a host that doesn't have any of that stuff, so you're a combination of outdated plugins and bad hosting, it's not a if, it's a when. So that's just a bad combination. Go ahead.
Quick question. You know how with email there's a certain list, perhaps blacklists and so on. Is there some sort of equivalent with plugins, like an authoritative or at least credible list of plugins to avoid if it's updated regularly?
So the question is, and I'm going to repeat that, if there's like a list of credible plugins that, or ones to avoid out there. The benefit and the drawback of open source is that there's so much stuff out there. Really what it is that I tend to look at them. I also tend to use Google a lot just to make sure people aren't reporting this stuff. Even if you're not using WordFence, if you sign up for the WordFence alerts, they will tell you when a plugin goes bad, especially a popular one. They will tell you instantly if that thing's gone bad. I actually have WordFence alerts, and then I have a Google filter on my Gmail. So if certain plugins that I know my clients are using pops up in a WordFence alert, it will flag it immediately for me, so I can see that. I also use just that search alert thing. So if you see a bunch of news articles come across about a certain plugin, I will see that being flagged immediately. Those are good options for figuring it out. But it is, I'm not going to say because some plugin isn't on a list, it's not good. Like, I've made a few for clients personally that I know are solid, but they're not available anywhere, so, that's fine. And there's some that just don't have the marketing to be out there. But the second one, especially if one is popular, goes bad, everybody will be talking about it. So getting on one of those alert email services is definitely something you want to kind of watch out for, and maybe drop your mail in there and get the alerts. So that'll help you. I mean, I know that there's some really big ones that went really bad fast, and they were on it within hours. So it's a good service to have. Is there another question over here somewhere? No? What's that?
Well, I was just thinking, you had given some
They're always very confused about this issue, aren't they? When you call them, they're like, "Yeah, I've never heard of that before." I'm like, "Really?" Because this is the 4th client this week. The question was for the streaming is that other indicators, like if you log into Bluehost and there's a bunch of FTP accounts that you didn't make, that is the user thing. Like I was talking about, those users they didn't make. But I would say that most clients don't log into their hosting account like ever. So I notice that, they don't notice that. But yes, anytime you have a bunch of users that you've never seen before. Yeah, no, that's of any sort.
Would that be more of an indication of compromisation of the hosting being compromised versus a WordPress account being compromised? Or can it make it
The thing, so if it's more of an indication of hosting versus WordPress compromise, so when you have a shared hosting account, all of the WordPress accounts are in the same hosting account. If one is hacked, I would assume they're all hacked. If you see FTP users in the account, I would assume all of the sites hosted in that account are hacked. It gets really sad when people contact me like, "Oh, I have this one that's hacked," and I look in there and there's like 30 accounts that are hacked. Yeah, that's lovely. If it's in the same folder, it's more likely it's gone through all of them. So definitely make sure that you're never addressing only one site. You have to address all of them in the entire account. Unfortunately, especially when you get things like people doing reseller hosting, they're like, "Oh, I'll just give you your own little folder, and my former developer set this up, or my designer set this up," and they're all in the same thing, and then all of them, like every client they've ever had, the whole thing.
With most of the web hosting companies, can you set up any kind of alerts for if X number of users get created to maybe notify you and stuff like that happens? Like maybe you only want to have 5 FTP users. Is that a normal thing with web hosting companies? Can you set up some of those thresholds for alerting? I'm sure most clients won't do that because they're not going to be knowledgeable.
Yeah, so the question is, can you set up on a hosting company and you can limit the number of accounts that are made? Some yes, some no. Generally, if you have a better host, they're just not going to let you do that. Like, they're going to have triggers, so every time an FTP host is made, it sends an email to the account owner, kind of thing. The cheaper ones aren't doing that. It's not great. It's bad practice. If they're not doing it, don't go there. Like, just don't, because that's just not worth your time. But yeah, no, I mean, I would say the better ones, if I went to make an account or whatever in my hosting box, it would send me an email like there's been a new account created here. And that's definitely an important thing, but it does not happen on cheaper shared hosting. So, unfortunately, half the job is education and telling people this is not worth their time, even though it's a really, really good deal today. Don't do it. Right. So, this is the WordPress dashboard that we use for automated scanning that I was talking about. This is one of my favorites. I really feel like as a company, they try really hard to stay on top of things, and they're very transparent about things. Just in terms of sending out alerts for people, keeping people informed, educating people. That's one of my favorite things about them. So, we fixed it. We deleted, replaced, we cleaned, we ran the scanners 16 different times, we did all that stuff. Now what? Blacklists, that whole thing when you get the Google thing and it shows up the red screen, you now have to fix that because that doesn't just go away on its own, and clients are usually very, very impatient about it going away faster than they want it to. So, you go to Google Search Console, you remove it. You actually have to go to every company that blacklisted it and removed it individually. It's a pain, but that's the only way to do it. Norton Symantec has their own little blacklist. McAfee has their own blacklist. Avast has their own blacklist. If it's been there secretly for a while, you're going to have to go to every single one and remove it from every single blacklist. You can use a thing like Security Side Check or MX Toolbox will list all of the places your site has been blacklisted. Go ahead and go through those and then individually get rid of them. Again, what's that? The site itself. So like if you are Google blacklisted and you go in Chrome, and that screen pops up that I had in the beginning, the big red screen, that's a Google blacklist basically. Or if you're searching and in the search results, it'll say this site may be hacked in the search results. So you have to actually go to the Google Search Console, submit the site, say, yeah, I cleared this. And then it'll go ahead and rescan the whole thing and make sure it's not, and they'll remove it. But yeah, no, same for email blacklists. But a lot of the email blacklists are not actually from a hack. They're from being on a shared box somewhere, and that whole box is blacklisted. So then the only solution to that is actually to move to a new box. Switching hosting again. Just figuring out, you know, it's clean. Can I keep it clean? If I can't keep it clean, move the hosting if I can't. The regular backups, it's just good practice. Everybody should have it, just in case you revert to a backup. I mean, I use Updraft Plus. There's Backup Buddy. There's VaultPress. There's cPanel backups you can do regularly. Any of those, just making sure you have a copy of everything. The WordFence plugin does auto scanning. It'll scan it periodically. You can set how often, and it'll send you an email. It'll also have a firewall that you can set up so that it will recognize threats that have come before, block them. So make sure that you don't ignore the message at the top of the screen that says set up your firewall. Do that. And then maintenance plans. So I love clients that come to me and work, because I'm not a designer, I'm a developer. So they work with a designer, and then they will do that stuff, and they'll come to me and get everything secured. They will spend like $5,000 to $10,000 on a site, and like, oh, I want $5 a month hosting and no maintenance plans. Okay, that's cool. Definitely try to talk them into that. Just kind of like trying to not do that sort of stuff, because it's going to get damaged. They're going to come back to you and they're going to blame you for it if you're the developer on the project. So don't do that. There's a new thing right now in WordPress. Everyone has managed hosting, and they sell that everywhere. Managed hosting. And then you read the fine print and they just update your WordPress. They're nice because they're more secure hosting, and it's cloud hosting, and it's better for someone who doesn't know what they're doing to be on there, but they won't update your plugins, and they won't update all the other stuff on there. They're only updating WordPress. Yeah. So everyone's like, oh, I'm on what's it, WP Engine, I'm on Flywheel, and I'm like, oh, it's good hosting, but they're only updating your WordPress. They will not update everything else. While their security's pretty good, and you're not going to get, you know, the chance of hacking is much lower, what's going to happen is that WordPress is going to update at some point past the capability of the theme, and then the site's just going to break on functionality anyways. So they have to understand what managed hosting means. Like if I give a client fully managed hosting, it means I am doing everything for your site. I'm not just updating WordPress and calling it a day. There's also a difference between managed hosting that does it remotely, like they use one of those managed WP plugins kind of thing, and they just send the updates to the site, and they don't ever check to see if the site works after an update. So there's a difference between that and someone who's actually looking at the site, updating everything, looking at the site. Not the same thing. So it's all about just making sure that you know, clients are educated and they know what they're getting into, because they're spending a lot of money. Some of these sites are really expensive. I mean, getting a couple sites on WP Engine's, you know, $250 a month or something like that, which is, when they're used to $5 a month of Bluehost, is a lot of money. But make sure they understand what that means and read the fine print on everything just so that they can know, is this worth my money? So, that's it. I'm going to post a list of resources, or I will give them to Antonio to post somewhere and all the other kind of stuff. Somewhere. They will go out somewhere. They will be somewhere. I'm on the Eugene Tech Slack. You can email me, Facebook, website. If you really want to look at pictures of all my food or learn about my politics on Twitter, feel free. Yeah, the food. Yeah, see? It's good food, right? Right. And then you're all going to come over to my house and you're just going to eat. Sorry. Questions?
Have you seen better security as time goes on? You told me you started with WordPress 0.2.
Oh, God.
Has it gotten better or has it gotten worse?
I'm telling you nothing ever again. Just worse. Because it's bigger and it's bigger. There's more people doing it. There's more open source stuff. There's more plugins. There's like, there just weren't plugins back then. It's just like, and everything was custom developed, because if everything is custom developed, nothing has any uniformity, and you can't write a script to take out 800 sites on the same day. So it is more complicated, but the hosting has gotten better and faster and also worse and sketchier at the same time. No, I don't know. It is complicated, and I feel like I just had to stay on top of it a lot. And I always kind of talk my clients into like understanding what their own limits are, because if they don't feel comfortable updating, if they don't feel comfortable on staying on top of it, is that worth their time and money to do so? And if it's not, hire out for it. It's fine. So, yeah, a long time. Thanks, buddy. I'm gonna remember that after. Okay. What's that? Oh, cleaning the database. I have seen in 14 years, two databases that had stuff injected. It's actually, funny enough, it's very rare. And it's just people don't do it. Because it's easier to like inject JavaScript into like a header file than it is to like get into the database. So I don't see it as often. It does happen. That's the automated scanning will take care of that. But it doesn't happen often. If you have someone who clearly comes to you and you can see stuff on the page that's wrong, then I'll look in the database. But it is pretty rare, actually. I mean, I don't know the reasoning for that. It's just I think it's a lower hanging fruit thing. So it's easier to inject something into a header file, especially when you have these, plugins that have the vulnerabilities. It's easier just to like write something into their scripts than it is to get in the database. But definitely, I mean, like I said, that's why I do the automated scanner, because I'm not going to go through the database. So I'll just let it handle that.
How much stock do you put into a class of measures you might call security by obfuscation? Like, for example, instead of having a username as admin, it's something else, changing location, various things so they're not the defaults. Is that just for brute force attacks and kind of a limited value, or do you generally put that on your function?
So security by, I'm not going to even try that. I'm going to mess up that word so bad. Changing the admin username and stuff like that. I do, as part of a cleanup, I do change the admin username. And the reason why is I change the admin username is because WordFence will better recognize something that is not supposed to be there if it's a username that's not supposed to be there. So if you have a default username in there, and it'll have a harder time discerning whether or not that's a legit attack or someone who's actually just forgot their password. So I do change those. The other thing, I don't hide the folder. I've found limited use of that. People are really popular about like hiding the login, hiding the WP login page. Limited use of that. The one other thing I do is I change the nickname on it. Because when you make a new user, it automatically makes your username the nickname in the URL. So I change the nickname so you make the user, go back into the user, change the nickname so it's not in the URL because the script will pick up the URL and try to log in with that username. Again, it makes it easier for my security plugin to recognize this is not legit if I change that. So that's just kind of what I do. The rest of the stuff, like the hiding stuff, I've really not found, because your plugins are in the same place and they're loading from the same place and no one's really paying attention to that stuff, so the scripts will get right in there anyways. So keeping it updated is much more useful than hiding my plugin folder or something. So, yeah? What's that?
How often do you see FTP be the attack vector?
I want to say fewer than 5 times in over a decade kind of thing. And it's really, really bad hosts. It's really bad hosts.
FTP is kind of deprecated anyway.
Yes, that's FTP. Yeah. I guess I didn't repeat the question, but FTP is a attack vector. Not very often. More likely it is a person who goes, well, the FTP, if someone gets into the hosting account, and that's usually a worm from within the host, will create a new FTP account and then upload stuff. But they can usually find plugins that allow kind of a backdoor FTP that doesn't make a user. It just sticks a little zip in your file directory. But that's more likely. It's less likely that but just really, really bad hosting is usually the FTP cause thing. So.
So if a lot of these things that you're talking about go back to bad hosting, how does one find good hosting? Or once you found a good host, how do you make sure that you're staying a good host?
That's how do you find a good host? How do you know a host went bad? I don't even have an answer for that, because I just, like I said, I made a recommendation and they sold, and then all of a sudden everyone's account went bad, and then I was just like, I felt so bad. I was like moving people's sites for free because I just felt so bad about that.
So what do you currently recommend?
My box is on Liquid Web. My box is on Liquid Web. They're in Lansing, Michigan. I like them. I'm spoiled. No. Yeah, I mean, there are some, like I said, there are some cloud hosting out there that are great, but it changes frequently. So it's the sort of thing with people say with car insurance, don't sit on your car insurance forever, every 6 months, like go figure out if there's something better. Just look around, see what people are doing. The one thing you don't want to do is, that's really hard too, because I see some recommendations out there and I'm just it is hard. It is hard. It is hard. But the one thing I would never do, by the way, is never go to a host and buy a 3-year hosting account, because I cannot guarantee anyone over 6 months. Don't do that. What am I doing feedback here? I'm like, something's wrong. It's over here. I don't know. Sorry. Okay.
Even with all of that unsurety,
Mhm.
even with all of that unsureness with hosting, can you be at least slightly reasonably more reassured with regard to, like, the get what you pay for kind of reasoning, being, if I'm finding a host that's charging a more premium rate and saying that the reason why it's more expensive is because they have additional security functions, can I reasonably expect that from them, or should I just not trust anybody in that?
So do you get what you pay for? Is the price mattering? For the most part, yes. If they are offering you a $5, $2, $1 account, no. That is like day-old sushi. Just don't. Yeah. What's that? Right.
And I think that really does work.
So, so looking up lists, people fought hard for those lists, and that company fought hard to bury those lists. They fought really hard. They like sued people to keep those lists off the internet. I know. But they liked it the same way you can edit Wikipedia, they can do it too. They tried very hard to get rid of that list. The other thing too is that if you see those sites that say web hosting reviews, people pay for those too. So be really careful about the web hosting reviews. I would more likely trust, like if you have someone you work with all the time and there's someone that you feel like, hey, they're doing a good job, go ask them rather than trying to, get the review on the thing. Yes. So I was a HostGator customer originally for like a lot of years. Yeah, no, I was for a lot of years. I love my family. I was for a lot of years, and that's what happened, is that they sold, and then all of a sudden they said they were going to upgrade people, and they were going to move them to the new server farm, which is code for we sold, and you're going to be put on a box with 7,000 other people. If they start doing that, pack up your stuff and get out really quick. In general, I always keep a backup of my entire server, so if anything goes down, I can be back up in like 12 hours somewhere else. That's kind of my general rule. Like, that's my emergency plan. But yes, it definitely, ask people that you trust. If there's people you work with, regularly ask them. Try to sort of, look at these lists of things, get people's experience. I see the worst in everybody, so when people ask me for my opinion, everyone's like, oh, I love them. I'm like, don't ever call their tech support. Just don't. But yeah, it is hard, and it shifts every 6 months. So if you found someone you liked 6 months ago, don't assume that's okay today. Go out and do your research today and figure out if that's still a good choice or that's not, right?
Do you see more zero-day attacks, or is it more like overhacks that people just have to do?
There's like weird waves. There's waves. It's weird because I do like I won't hear anything for months, and all of a sudden like one hosting company will get like 7 people in a row like on one day calling me. So there's definitely something going on there. If you watch the WordFence blog, they definitely have spikes going during certain times of the year, which is really interesting to watch. But there's some that are just constant. I find that the ones that seem constant, that come in at random times that are not spiked, is because they actually got hacked a long time ago and didn't notice for a while. So they were actually part of that wave, and they just showed up now. But it definitely has kind of a, someone sent out a script, it did its thing through the internet, and then it died back for a while, and then it hit again, and then it died back for a while. So that kind of points to the whole, like, it's not social engineering. It really is just like someone sending out a script. Kevin.
Questions on the web hosting is really coming from the wrong perspective. It's coming from the perspective of you're not very technical and you don't know how to manage a server. If you're serious about what you're doing, you should have a minimum of VPS, which basically makes you your own host. You're the only one on the server. You have full control of it. If you either learn how to do it and bump up your skills, or find somebody that knows how to do it. But never do shared hosting if you're serious. That totally cuts that out right off the bat. And these days, VPS is as cheap or cheaper than shared hosting. You have root access to the server. You can do anything you want. You own the server. It's not a dedicated server, but it's essentially the same thing. And that eliminates all the shared hosting problems. One other tip on securing the login for WordPress, there's one simple thing that you can do is to password protect the admin folder with HTPassword. That blocks even access to try to do anything in there. Use a different password than you do for your WordPress. It's simple to add that, and of course, if you have your own VPS, it's even easier to do that. That way, nobody can even get at your login page. They have to get through another pop-up login on the server to even get at it in the first place, and that will block that pretty much completely.
So Kevin suggested that just for the streaming, to use VPS, and I do tell people that if they are serious and this is their business, they should be using something that is higher level of hosting, like a cloud server, like a VPS. Mine's a dedicated box, something like that. That's not just shared hosting, because you're basically shared hosting. You're in an apartment with thin walls, and you don't know what's going on with your neighbors, and you don't really want that neighbor, whatever he's doing, to influence your business. So just don't do it. The password on the admin folder is a technique that a lot of people use. It's basically adding two-factor authentication, because you have to log in twice in order to get in the admin, which is fine if that is a preferred method. There's other methods of two-factor authentication that a lot of people use. I think that WordFence has a thing, basically if you try to log in, it'll like text you something to make sure that's a legit login, things like that. So there's a variety of two-factor authentication that you can do with a lot of different things. If you are, especially if you have a high volume site and you're worried about these sort of things, those are definitely techniques that are great to use. So, thanks. What? No.
No?
No.
So my question is, do you, or if, whether you noticed or not, but have you noticed a correlation between attacks on WordPress and the other popular CMSs like Joomla or Drupal?
Who uses Joomla or Drupal? He wanted to know if there's a coordination on attacks between WordPress and Joomla and Drupal. So there are attacks that are on PHP in general, and there's also things like Heartbleed came out, right? So those are attacks that you will see across all platforms that use the same stack, but most of the stuff that is written for WordPress, those waves are specific to WordPress. So every once in a while, you know, once, maybe twice a year, you will see something that is specifically targeted towards Apache or targeted towards PHP or targeted towards that sort of stuff that goes across all platforms. But it's not, I mean, there's a new WordPress worm coming out all the time, so. But who uses Joomla? No.
So when recommending a VPS, aren't you increasing the amount of attack vectors in there, so you have to keep that updated too? Yeah.
I would definitely not do a VPS unless you're super dedicated to doing a VPS, because I feel like there was a lot of companies that sold VPSs to designers who are not security people, and they ended up with a whole reseller hosting thing of having 50 hack sites. So unless you have the dedication to do it, do something more like cloud hosting. So you have a VPS, but you don't do the stuff. Like I know that Liquid Web has a WordPress managed cloud hosting thing where they say, okay, we'll give you 10 WordPress installs on your account and we manage your VPS and you just make the WordPress installs. That's a much better option. Just know what your own limitations are. So if you're not like, yeah, mod security, let's do that. You know, if that's not your thing, don't do it. If it is your thing, yeah, do it. But there are several, I would say, like cloud options that are there for people who don't want to do that stuff. Right. Yes. But again, fine print on the fully managed, because I have fully managed, and it means they update the WHM. They don't update any of the WordPress stuff. They only update cPanel. Yeah. Right. That's what I was talking about. Yes. 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 Just read the fine print. Know what you're getting. You're like, oh, this is a great deal. Oh, they don't update anything. Okay, no. Yeah, no, just read for the fine print. I just know that people go, well, I had a fully managed VPS, but the managed part was only updating the server software. So it was great when Heartbleed came out because they updated Heartbleed without me even blinking. Yeah, okay, great. But then they didn't update anything, you know, when this WordPress thing came out. So just read exactly what it says that it updates. But there's good options out there. Just don't go for the day old sushi.